Welcome to How I Rent It, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on the tent rental industry. I'm Tony Ehrbar, the owner of American Tent, one of the leading event tent manufacturers in the U.S. As someone who got started in the event rental industry over 10 years ago, I'm excited to bring you the stories behind the people who keep events running smoothly. Was watching an episode of Shark Tank one night, had a couple of beers, and went on Craigslist, and in Green Bay was a tent rental business.
At the end of the day, failure was not an option. I'm going to do this.
Is this your first time on a podcast?
It is my first time on one, listening to one, seeing one. Yes, sir.
Each episode, we'll talk to inspiring event rental business owners to learn how they got started, the challenges they've faced, and their secrets to success. Whether you're dreaming of starting your own rental business or just love hearing great entrepreneurial stories with plenty of intent puns thrown in, this podcast is for you. Steven has been through the rental industry for over 15 years.
And I was born under a tent.
This is the part where we're going to get into where we're going to have like VP of HR come in and just like okay the questions and answers. What does Ricky Bobby say? If you ain't first, you're last.
That's it. Absolutely.
So grab your coffee, your notebook, or just sit back and relax with a box of popcorn. Subscribe now on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts, and join me as we uncover the journey behind the tent rental industry and how I rent it. Welcome back to How I Rent It, the podcast where we dive into the world of tent rental businesses, sharing insights, lessons, and stories from people who built their businesses from the ground up. I'm Tony Ehrbar, the owner and CEO of American Tent. If you tuned into our last episode, we had the pleasure of speaking to Peter McVeigh, where we explored his journey in the tent rental industry and some of the valuable lessons he's learned in his 40 years in the industry. Now I'm excited to welcome today's guest, Steven Eisenstein. We debated this ahead of time, and I just don't call Steven late for dinner. He was okay with it. From Classic Tents and Events. Steven has been through the rental industry for over 15 years and had the pleasure of getting to know him through doing business together, being at trade shows. He's been a great resource for me as someone who's been in the industry for just 10 years. So today we'll be talking to Steven's rental journey, diving into how he got his start, the lessons he's learned, and some behind-the-scenes success stories from his time in the industry. So if you're looking to grow your tent rental business, avoid common mistakes, or just hear some great industry insights, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Steven, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we talked it through, I still messed up how to pronounce your name, but I'm glad you're okay with either way. Cool. Well, let's dive into some of the questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, sure. It's called Classic Tents and Events. We were started 25 years ago. I actually bought the business in 2010 from a woman named Maria Bruns, who was 65 years old and needed an exit strategy. So my background was in catering. I worked in hotels and restaurants, and I'd studied hotel restaurant management, so I understood parties. But I had no idea anything about tenting. But I was just looking to own my own business of some sort, and found Ria and our tent company who already had a cash flow, already had customers. And I just came to the table and studied her business for about a month before I actually ever purchased it. And really fell in love with it and saw a lot of opportunity. And Atlanta's just filled with a lot of events. And so I jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, and you guys do some really cool stuff we'll dig into later, kind of around movies and that kind of stuff, which I think is really cool. I got the chance to visit your facility probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I mean, super impressive. So you mentioned you did some catering before. Any other non-event things? Like take us back to your teens or 20s. What were you doing back in the day?
I had ADD. So I actually on weekends worked at a restaurant. So I learned about fine dining cuisine, and I worked at Buckhead Diner here in that city. And started at 16. My dad was a food salesman, so he actually was an entrepreneur. He had a lot of different side hustles. And so I basically learned a lot from him over the years. But I fell in love with the hospitality industry and just wanted to stay connected and do something in it. And just like, I love live events, love coming up with an idea and seeing it come to fruition. And then afterwards, coming up with better ideas for the next time and making it more exciting. So to answer your question, I just grew up in the hospitality business and just watched an entrepreneur who was my dad, kind of all the different things that he did, and learned the good things from him and the not so good things from him.
Well, learning's good. I feel like every day I fail and learn, and just that's kind of what being an entrepreneur is.
Absolutely.
So you talked a little bit about it, but impetus for starting the business. She approached you. You approached her.
I approached her. I actually, my last position was working at the aquarium for Wolfgang Puck, and I never wanted to be in a spot where I didn't control my own destiny in the future. So I wanted to own something that I could take, and she was looking to sell, and it was just a great opportunity for me to learn about the business and basically figure out what wasn't being offered that could be added to the ticket and how to grow the business from where it was.
Yeah, a lot of it's about seeing the opportunities. So a little bit different than some of our other guests that we're going to be talking to. So you bought someone else's business. You don't need to go into all the details, but how did you fund the business initially?
So my dad was a huge supporter of me, and he loaned me some money initially. And then when I worked out the contract with the owner, we did owner financing. So she offered financing, and I had a note for 7 years and ended up paying off the note earlier. And it was really a wonderful thing for everybody.
Yeah, I have friends in other businesses who bought, and getting a seller note is a nice way for your success to be their success. And so that's a clever strategy.
Definitely.
So your due diligence process, what did that look like?
Man, so I went out with the crew and found out what they did and see how they set everything up and learned the industry. And basically, I went around to all the different departments, which there weren't that many at the time, and just kind of sat down with each person and found out what their role was in the business, how they, found leads, how they took care of their existing clientele, and asked about what other opportunities there were from each of them. And so, that's really how it was. And I understood that Rhea had her foot in the game with a lot of good festivals that were really large. And so the clientele that we had was good. Each year they had a repeat event. And so there was some substantial meat on the bone, if you will, as far as their customer lists. Things that they weren't doing. They didn't do any social media. She wasn't really savvy with the internet, with websites. And so a lot of the things that they did, we just took and just kind of, the wheel wasn't broken. We just kind of polished the wheel in all the different areas where we could.
So it sounds like the aha was there's recurring revenue, right? And then there were things that you knew how to do that were just kind of additive that could kind of help support that growth engine. I like 100%.
That. You got it.
Yeah. Tell us about your first event when you took the business over, and how did it go?
Well, I'll tell you, the first experience I remember was 4th of July weekend. This is before I actually bought the company. I actually drove a stake body truck. They had me driving, and there was 8 guys in the truck. We went to install a big 40 by 100 pole tent, and it was for the 4th of July. I'll never forget this. The tire on her truck blew out, and I have a little bit of a heavy foot, so I was driving in the far left lane, and when the tire exploded, there was people in the back seat who were sound asleep, who were just plumb tuckered out from the setup, woke up, and they were like freaking out because the tire, when it popped, it was scary. It was like a bullet went off, gunshot went off. Anyways, I remember pulling over on the side of the road and having to fix that tire, but that was my first blowout ever in a stake body truck. And I remember watching the guys set up the tent, and they didn't have a 10-ox before then. A lot of physical labor going on. So one of the things that I immediately, studied in the business is what other things are out there that people can use to install their tents to kind of make it go faster. In 2014, we purchased one of those 10-oxes. We were one of the first in our area. Man, it was a lifesaver, life changer. Really.
Yeah, we might have Scott come onto the show, actually.
You should, yeah.
Tell everyone just what a 10-ox is.
A 10-ox is basically it's a forklift that can go out in the field. It's got articulating wheels. And so it's kind of like a lawnmower, so it won't really leave big marks. It drives stakes into the ground. Another attachment pulls stakes out of the ground. Then we've got another attachment that helps push pole tents up. Then we've got another system that changes to move the weights around. So it's a block and roll attachment. But it's just a huge labor-saving item that we can help to transport everything off the truck, to move it however many feet we have to go. It saves a man a lot of time and energy.
Yeah. A lot of times the new guy on the team gets the pleasure of pounding the stakes. Was that your first job? Did they throw you with a sledgehammer?
I was never very muscular. So for me, they knew better. They would get it done much faster. So I was a spectator. I just watched the whole process and learned and saw how they did it. My job was just to take it all in and learn and see. So I did that. And man, these guys, they don't need to belong to a gym for the amount of work that they do. It's a lot of physical labor. And as you know, as you've seen it. My job was to find ways that we could enhance the customer experience and other things that we could do to add to our, inventory that would make people more happy about their events.
Yeah, the Matra tent games are a spectacle to watch. Some of these guys on the steak pounding competition, which there is videos somewhere, I think, from my team of me trying to pound a steak, and it's embarrassing. So Paige, let's not put that on social media. So biggest challenge you faced when you took the business over?
Man, that's a great question. Biggest challenge I had was really just kind of learning and understanding the industry, learning like who the players are, who I could subrent from, who I couldn't subrent from, learning just really the basics, It was very entertaining, and it is a good business. The nice thing here is I joined the American Rental Association right away, and I made friends with a lot of people that are big in the industry. And going to those conferences is nice. It's really key. I met a lot of great people that are very helpful, and they're not afraid to open up their playbook and tell you, give you advice. And so I've met a lot of great people in the industry over the years, and been very lucky to have that relationship.
I found the nice thing about the industry is, you're in Atlanta. Jeff Crotto is going to be a future guest. He's down in Jacksonville. And so you're in different markets. People are willing to share. People are willing to do subrenting. So talk to me about subrenting. How did that kind of supplement your business when you started?
Well, when I first started, Gay Pride was one of our biggest events we did. And it took a ton of 10 by 10s, like probably around 250. And at the time, we didn't have enough to do it. So we would subrent like 30 or 40 at a time from different players in the market. And as years went on, I just kept growing our inventory and adding each winter. When we bought new stuff, we would add 20 10 by 10s. And eventually got to the point where I didn't need to subrent anymore. But at the same time, again, Atlanta's a great market. We've got a lot of great friends here. And so we can be very creative and help each other quite a bit. I don't own china or glassware or silverware. I don't want to. I don't own furniture. I don't own big couches. So again, there's a lot of things in our tickets that we're subbing out to other people. So again, we don't need to do, we know what we're good at, and tinting is where we are really focused in it.
Anything in particular about China that you hate?
Well, I don't want to I don't want to count dirty plates at an event and count dirty forks and stuff. So if I don't want to do it, I don't want my guys to do it either. So I'd rather, again, there's enough players in the city that have it. So let them do what they do best, Breakage happens. If you're a tent guy, you're a real big buff guy. China and glassware is real sensitive and fragile. And so for those guys to mess with that stuff, it takes, a different skill set there. Yeah,
we never did linens when I had my rental business, because I always joked my guys' hands were so dirty. Mm-hmm. And so having them touch white linens seemed like a terrible idea. So we sub-rented those out. That was a great decision. So was there a defining moment when you knew the business was going to succeed and grow?
Well, I would have never plunged and jumped and make this move unless I knew that was going to happen from the get-go. So I'm a risk taker, but I knew that this was a no-brainer.
One mistake you learned early on that taught you a valuable lesson.
All right. So we had a large contract with a retailer that did a grocery store chain that did a Mother's Day sale. And they were selling flowers and chocolates outside of a tent. And they were all ballasted, but with water barrels. And unfortunately, we had some strong 40-mile-per-hour winds that came through. And wouldn't you know, water ballast didn't really, succeed there. So we had a failure. And ever since that date, I bought Block and Roll, and we started making our own concrete, and we switched everything over. So the water barrels were no longer used any longer. I was an early adapter to the Block and Roll program, and I am a big fan of it. And we have a ton of ballasts. We poured a lot for our own self. And then after a while, we started just buying them by the tractor trailer load because it was just too much. Yeah. But that was the biggest thing for me, is just changing our mindset and figuring something better so that we had some co-friction on the ground. Water barrels just are not a good solution.
And you're talking about the 55-gallon drums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we meet a lot of people like that. So you're familiar with our Giphy tent ballasting system.
We own several of them. Yeah, we bought, I don't remember the number, but yeah, they've been here for a long time. We don't like using water barrels, but when we have to, we prefer using those. By all means.
We bought it out because there's a lot of smaller businesses that don't have a tent ox or don't have ways to get things out into the field. And so works nicely. But yeah, we love the guys at Block and Roll. I want to bring Nick on to the show as well. It's a really great solution. tents are essentially big kites, and so you have to do the proper safety to make sure that they are stuck to the ground as best as possible when you can't stake. So looking back, is there anything you would have done differently when you first took the business over?
I'm going to stick to the plan that I had. I don't think it was a bad plan. So, if anything, I would say stick with one manufacturer when possible, if you can, with your inventory. I would say, be friendly with the people that are around your town if you need sub-rent, so that way that it's a closer drive.
Yeah, I always talk to people, and it's hard to get someone to switch tent manufacturers because it's like asking a Ford dealer to become a Chevy dealer, right? All those pieces and parts. So there are things you bought from us that are interchangeable, sidewalls and other things. But yeah, it's nice to get in on the ground floor with one manufacturer that you can then grow with, which, that's our strategy at American Tent, certainly, is finding those folks that hopefully will watch this podcast and want to get into the business, and Pete as a resource for them. And my 10 years of owning my business helps a lot to kind of get people to think through the business. We actually wrote a 7-step guide to how to start a tent rental business. Cool. Well, let's step into growing your business and some advice you have for people maybe thinking about it. So you mentioned a couple of them, but what strategies helped you grow the business from when you bought it to where it is today?
So I would say that finding good salespeople is key. Having a good sales team, and then also having a team that can support whatever they've sold. And make it have a good team behind them, so that basically everything goes off without any kinks. So, for us, just really studying our market and finding places that we could grow and places that we could partner with. For us, we've been lucky over the years. A lot of our competition's gone away. And so a lot of the jobs that the competitors used to do, we've taken over the years. So there's been some consolidation, if you will, in the marketplace over the years.
Speculating a little bit, is that because they were not operating their businesses efficiently, or you are just so badass that people just wanted to come to you, or maybe a little bit of column A and column B?
I would say it's a little bit of every of that. Honestly, some of our competition was bought out and then they left town. Some of our competition didn't take care of business like they were supposed to, and the government shut them down. And then, there's a lot of other players that do what we do, but we have just a different way of approaching it and taking really good care of our clientele and making sure that they're happy. The retention, when I walked in the door, we already had clients, and hardly very many of them have left. If anything, they either went bankrupt or they closed. So we didn't really lose them. They kind of turned themselves off.
I think the theme across some of our earlier conversations on the previous podcast has been under promise, over deliver. That get into a very hairy situation very quick if you've told someone, the sales team has told on something, and then the operations team does something different. So it sounds like that's something that you definitely prescribe to. So talk to me about 2 to 3 types of events or markets that you service most often, and hopefully movies is one of them, because I think that's a really cool thing that you guys do.
Yeah, so Georgia has a nice tax incentive. So if you film a movie here, there's an opportunity to get up to 30% tax credits back. So basically, in the last 15 years, we've served a lot of movies, a lot of productions. TV and film have been big here. But unfortunately, over the years, the business has kind of changed a lot. There was a writer's strike. There was an actor's strike. There's been a lot of factors, and Hollywood's just not as busy as it used to be. But thank goodness there's a lot of great studios that are here in Atlanta and that we work with. And there's a lot of productions that are still on. They're not completely gone, but it's definitely, the numbers have changed immensely. We've been in, if there's any major motion pictures that's filmed here in Georgia, and there are quite a bit, we've typically been involved with them. And so we set up hair and makeup stations for them. We set up catering, dining room tents for them. We set up wardrobe tents with pipe and drape and with flooring and carpeting. We have makeup mirrors in our inventory, so those go out quite a bit for people before they go on set. What else can I tell you? Some neat clientele that we've had over the years because of that.
Any memorable movie sets or people you've met?
So a lot of the location managers are really proud of the design and the sets that they're involved with, and they've invited us to come and visit. So I went on set while they were filming Stranger Things, and I got to see all of our product out in the field as well as them filming. So it was really neat. And then when they were filming Wakanda, we got invited to a waterfall set. And so we met Angela Bassett, and we met a couple other people on the set at the same time. It was really neat. It's fascinating what they do and how they can transform a space to make it look like something completely different in another country. But that is definitely one of our sectors that we serve. We also serve the retail markets. So we have a couple projects that we do that are on a national scope. They involve basically they're selling Christmas trees underneath our tents, and that is involved in about 12 different states. It's a pretty cool project. We also serve the festival market. That's really what we're really known for. We have a lot of 10 by 10s, a lot of smaller tents. So we're getting ready to do the Dogwood Festival, which is coming up next week. We're involved with a lot of festivals that go on here in Atlanta. Another segment we serve is the sport market. So we deal with a lot of races, like at Atlanta Motor Speedway or at Road Atlanta. We're involved with a lot of events that go on there, as well as the Atlanta Track Club. They've been really good to us. We do at least a dozen events for them. So they do the Peachtree Road Race. So that's a 50,000 runner event, and they use a lot of tents for it. So Atlanta's just got a lot of opportunity here, and there's a lot of big sports events that are coming here. We got the FIFA coming here.
Yep.
And then in 2028, the Super Bowl is coming back to Georgia. So we'll be involved with some projects for that as well. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. Are you one of those 50,000 runners?
Not so much.
Me either. Yeah, that's why I keep this part of me above camera. You don't want to see the rest of it.
I've run it once or twice, but I'm not a runner. It's not my thing. It's too hot in July in Atlanta.
Oh, it's a July event?
It's a July 4th
Interesting.
event. Yeah.
Interesting choice. For that Christmas tree thing you said 12 states. Do you guys travel to all of them, or do you sub some things out to friends of yours in other states?
We travel outside of the state for some of it, but we also hire a lot of other tent vendors that we're friendly with, and they are awarded the contract as well.
How do you market to your customers?
So we do a lot of different things. So we have events that we host. So like a couple weeks back, we hosted a production party event. We actually had a pickleball kind of event that night. But we basically invite our clients at least once a year to a get together. And then we'll have it catered, and then we'll have some entertainment as well. We do a lot of social media. So you'll see us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, doing a lot of different posts to, let people know what's up, what we're doing. And then we also do a little bit of marketing within the different cores that we're in. So like the location managers, we are involved with an event they do each year. So there's a magazine, we put an ad in their magazine for that. They have like an awards event each year that we participate in. We do some wedding shows that we attend as well during the year. So we're at bridal events looking for new brides and grooms that want to get married. There's a lot of different things that we do. We're involved with the Southeast Festival Event Association, and they have an annual conference. We normally are vendors, or we're normally a sponsor of that event each year. And again, there's probably at least a dozen things that we're involved that we're in members of that we participate at.
Two-part question. So how do you decide new products or services to add to your rental offering? And then are there any trends you're seeing in the industry kind of tied into that?
So it's not just a Steven decision. So I have a team where I work with, and I can't do it without them. So Carlos and our sales managers and our ops managers, we all get together and we go to the trade shows and we look and see what's new and what's fresh and what would work well in our market. And it's a group decision. So we just added a garden tent to our inventory, and we bought it just a couple of days ago. That just showed up here, honestly, and it's already installed. So we have a 12 meter by 35 meter garden tent we purchased from Fred's. We put up 3 days in Augusta for a client that we're working with for the Masters. It's on an elevated floor. It's almost 8 feet high before you can even get onto the tent. So it's quite an impressive setup that they've done for this yard that they have. That definitely would be one of the trends we're seeing is the garden tent. There's a lot of different players out there that are doing different spin-offs of it. And I think it's giving a lot of different people some neat ideas, and it's pretty cool.
No, we've whenever we go to Mantra or to the ATA tent show, some of those garden tents are really impressive. So I have been inside of Fred's, and that's a nice tent. I'm assuming it rents out for quite a bit.
It's not a cheap tent, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, but it's well worth it. The guy said it's a lot more labor involved because of the setup and the way it is, but I think you get what you pay for, So it's going to be a nice product.
So for someone starting out, garden tents probably out of their price range. Is there anything that you, and I always love seeing Carlos every year at the show, you guys have seen that you think would be a good thing for a newer rental company to get into? I mean, obviously tents, but then some other items.
That's a really good question. I mean, if I had a person that told me do this, do that, I would say, structure for us. We bought it in 2019, and it's really been a great product. I probably would say if I could have changed one thing, I would have gone back and bought it earlier and added it to my inventory, because it really takes it to another level. It's a really sharp product. Having an elevated floor to go with it is really key also. The two to go hand in hand together. I mean, those together really can take you all over the country.
Yeah. And those are nice things to sub-rent out from someone down the road. That's what we did when we had my rental business. I mean, we were primarily pole and frame tents. Again, structures are expensive, but they do. I mean, if you can find the market for them, they pay off. Certainly. Any common fatal mistakes you see other rental businesses make that would help our listeners?
I hate to say this, but I'm so focused on what I'm doing in our own place, I don't really kind of key in on other places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm involved in a peer group. And so our group gets together once a month on the phone, and then we get together 2 times a year. And if anything, that's where we kind of help each other and learn from each other and help each other. So I would say, if you're starting a business, check out the peer groups, have a group of people that you can run things past, because this is not an easy business, and it's got a lot of small details that really matter, that all really count.
Tell anyone in your group, if they're interested, they can come watch your podcast and see if they want to join.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's wanting to start a rental company, I'm happy to invite them to our place to see what we do and then talk them out of it really quickly.
Kind of step back to, if you were starting something from scratch, advice you'd give someone who's thinking about starting their rental business.
And I would say, know your customers, study your demographics, know what you're going after, know your competition, know what you're up against. Before you really jump in it, man, I'd say go work for another rental company and learn as much as you can on someone else's dime, so you don't have to risk your own.
That makes sense. Would you start as a side hustle on the weekends, or would you go just jump straight in 2 feet?
I'm a pretty dedicated kind of person. So if I'm going to do it, I would just jump all the way in and do it. If you're going to do it, focus, do it well, and not have any reason why, if somebody needs something at a certain time, you can't provide it because you're doing something else. If you're going to do it, go all in. Pick the one thing and do it really well.
I had someone once tell me, do one thing whole ass rather than 2 things half ass.
There you go.
Good advice. All right. Let's get into some fun questions about rentals. So, one tool or piece of equipment you and or your team can't live without, and I have a feeling I know the answer.
You already know the answer. Yeah.
Earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
So tent ox.
I had a guy dress up on Halloween as a tent ox. That's how much we really love it here. So yes, we are big tent ox fans. Scott Woodruff is the guy, and Andy Matrix is right behind him. Good people.
Yeah.
We have, I think, 5 of those machines now in our inventory. In the beginning, I started with the 528s, and then later figured out the higher number you have, the better off you are for the amount of weight it can carry. So when you need the structure, you need to have really, big support. The 3,500 pound ballasts are not easy to move.
I think having him on would be great. He had his own rental business, and that's kind of how he got the idea too. So,
and before I ever even bought the business, I asked to be invited to his LinkedIn group. This is when LinkedIn was still big, and so he said he wouldn't even allow me into the group until I bought the business. And so he was really firm about that. So after I got the contract signed and finished, I told him, and he let me into the little group. It was funny. Yeah. But I've been a big fan of his, and he's been a big help to me over the years. He provides a lot of good advice. He knows his market. He knows his business really well.
One small item that's in the glove box of every single one of your fleet vehicles.
So we have a first aid kit in every one of our trucks. It doesn't fit inside the glove box because it's bigger than that. But we have a little notebook, and it's got all the information. God forbid something happens, like a resource book for them to kind of use as a guide. Traffic accident, what to do. If they have a flat tire, what to do. All that jazz.
That's why I love tent guys. Safety first.
It's important. We want the guys going home safe every night.
What is the most memorable event or project that you've been a part of?
Oh my goodness gracious almighty. All right, so I'm going to go with President Carter's funeral. So Jimmy Carter is from here. Every president, there has to have a plan when they pass away, what's going to happen and how it's going to be. And so we've been involved with working with President Carter's funeral for a long time. It was at the top of the list right there. That's number 1, I would say. But I got a pretty close number 2, and that would be Bruce Springsteen on my stage during the political race that we had for president. Kamala was here. all the other supporters behind her were there, and that was a pretty cool moment too. I've got some pretty cool things that have happened over the years from what we've been involved with, but there's some pretty neat things that we come in contact with because of what we're doing.
Most unusual or surprising request that you guys have received from a client?
All right. Well, a long time ago, a client asked for a menorah at a job site. And funny enough, we ended up finding a used menorah from a hotel that wanted to get rid of one. It was really like a 6-foot tall one. And so that client's been with us for 15 years and they keep using the same menorah every year.
Okay.
It's kind of an odd thing. What can I tell you?
I mean, it got a lifetime client for you, and I'm sure they appreciated your extra effort to find it.
Totally.
What's the most rewarding part of running a rental business?
So for me, the most rewarding part is when you either get an email or a text with a client that's got a picture or a testimonial of just, our customers were so well taken care of that they're just really thrilled and they've just had a great experience, and that gets it. That's what I love the most. Most
bizarre thing you or your team has ever found left behind at an event? And Pete's answer was a pile of naked people. So it's a competition.
Funny thing about having a tent company is sometimes a lot of weird random things show up in your loading dock, and you don't know how the hell the guys found it. But unfortunately, sometimes the clients leave things behind. So I mean, bananas. I guess we had a couple pallets of bananas left behind from a race that showed up here. It's kind of odd. Important for people in the rental industry to make sure they put their name on everything. Because if something comes back and I don't have a name on it, how the hell do I know who to give it back to?
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken, and how did it turn out?
I guess the biggest risk I've ever taken was buying a tent rental company, and it's worked out so far. 15 years later, okay. Been able to support. We've got 96 people working here, and they're all pretty happy. So being creative with our people and making sure that they're in good shape and they're well taken care of is key. So if they're happy, they're taking good care of my customers.
Yeah, having good people on your team is paramount. They're a outward reflection of you. Do you have any favorite interview question you use to make sure someone's a good fit for your team?
So we used to ask do you have a favorite joke? That was part of our questions that we asked to see if they have a funny bone in them or not.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire, completely off the wall, non-rental questions.
All right.
So if you could open another business completely unrelated to the event industry, what would it be?
I would be in South Africa as a tour guide, taking people around to see animals.
Did you, I believe you went on a trip with your family recently, right?
We did last year in September. It was the most thrilling, exhilarating trip I'd ever been on. So cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back. I could do that for a living, just taking people in a Jeep and driving around and seeing animals.
I'd sign up for that tour. I'll be there. What theme song would be played every time you enter a room?
Saint Stephen by the Grateful Dead.
I'd say you didn't strike me as a deadhead.
Yep.
Do you have like a hidden dead tattoo on your back or something?
No tattoos here. I don't like pain. My motto in life is no pain, no pain.
I think that's a fair motto. Go-to fast food option if you're running late between a meeting or jobs.
I think Chick-fil-A is kind of fills the boat there. We love it, and it's a favorite here in the South.
I was going to say, that's a Georgia favorite. We didn't have one for a while, and so every time I went through the Atlanta airport, I would make my layover long enough that I could have some Chick-fil-A.
Yep. And they're customers of ours too. We're getting ready to set up a nice gig for them next week.
Oh, really? Yeah. We've sold a couple of tents to them during COVID to help with some of their outdoor social distancing stuff. What is your favorite or most gifted book?
It's a good question. Back in the day, I did a lot of catering. And so there was a couple of decorators that did some really crazy things and involved some tenting. I can picture the guy's face. His name's Preston Bailey. He's a really cool decorator. He's done some really neat stuff. So just for inspiration, just his book of all the different things that he's done, other past events.
I don't know if I've read that one. All right. So I buy you space on a gigantic billboard anywhere you want. What would the message on it be and why?
Be kind. Let's just go with that,
I like that a lot.
How hard?
I have a shirt that just says be kind.
Yeah, I'm for it all the way, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing in our world today.
100%.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
It would probably be Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. Yep.
Any questions you'd ask him?
So many.
Maybe about his finger. Which finger was he missing again?
Yeah, it was like one of these guys. Yeah.
I always like seeing the finger print hand of his. Final question. Special talent or most interesting thing about yourself? I'm hoping you're going to go get something and come back.
I'm a juggler.
How How many can you do?
I can do 4.
Okay. Can you juggle fire?
I can do fire. I didn't bring them today, but I have fire sticks. So I've been a juggler since I was 12. And so this year I'm 52. So I've been juggling as long as Pete McVeigh's been in the tent rental business.
There we go. For those at home, it was a very impressive display of him juggling 10 balls up in the air. So we'll go with that. All right. Any last advice for someone starting a tent rental business who might be listening?
Have a lot of money to start with. Start with a lot.
Okay.
Because in order to get to where you need to be, it takes a lot. And don't be afraid.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey,
that was a great conversation. Want to start your own tent rental business? Visit American Tent/tent rental and download our detailed guide on 7 steps to start your own tent rental business. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn for more content, and certainly go and follow Steven in Classic as well. Want to be a guest? Email us at marketing@americantent.com. Thanks for listening to How I Rent It. Until next time, keep it intense.